My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless, and here is what's coming up.
At this point in time, I'm still telling my parents, kids, me, no. By the time I'm leaving St. Joseph's Junior Seminary, I'm also now adding to the fact, kids, wife, me, no. So I'm barely 6 months into Nyeri, meet my first lady I like, we have a thing for a while, and then we have a pregnancy scare.
That is William's story. We're going to jump right to it a little later in this episode. I hope you're doing great. If you are an OG member, I've got nothing but love for you. Thank you for being part of this ever-growing family. I love seeing all of your comments and responding to them. And yeah, I love that you're here. I love that you're part of this family. If you're a newbie here, welcome. We are quite the family, and we got you covered for the week. So on Mondays, this show goes out every single Monday. On Wednesdays, we have our newsletter and the midweek teas, where I deep dive into topics that I think can be very beneficial for you, especially if you're on a journey to actualizing your best self. And then on Thursdays, we have for mannerless women, both here on our audio channels and on our YouTube channel. And then on Fridays, our seasonal show is going to make a comeback soon, which is Ask a Therapist. Okay, so what you need to do is subscribe wherever it is that you're listening to this on, so you don't miss any of our shows. And just a heads up, we have a brand new show that is premiering this Friday. Yes, we have been shooting it, and it's one of our largest scale shows because it's not only bringing you stories from Kenya, but we went and got incredible women from South Africa, incredible women from Nigeria who live in London, and we flew them all into our studio. So listen, this is a mega show, and I'm gonna need your help as part of this family to make sure as many people as possible see it when it launches. This is all I can tell you about it just now, but make sure you subscribe. And Friday, be on our YouTube channel so that you can be amongst the first people to watch our brand new show. That's all I can say. I have to stop talking because I'm not very good with secrets. I might say things that I'm not meant to say yet. Okay, great. Now, let's jump into William's story. It's so interesting, right? Last 2 weeks, we've been listening to Hekaya's story that touched on themes around being child-free. And then I'm going through our pool of stories from our correspondents, and I see this one, and I'm like, I've not heard this one before. What is it about? And I'm listening to it, and then, like, it's a guy talking about choosing to be child-free. And I'm obviously intrigued. Not only because of what we've been talking about on the show, but also because I realize this is the first man I have heard in a public setting say with his entire chest that he's child-free. And he also makes a very, very important, life-changing decision around this. I don't want to share too much about what he does, but here is part 1 of William's story. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Genga William. I am a child-free man, born and raised in Kericho. To begin with, maybe I'll just give a background of why I'm child-free. Early on in my life, I am the firstborn of the firstborn. Means that my mother is the firstborn in our family, and I was the firstborn from her side. So I got to interact with very many kids in terms of everybody else was born after me. We were just me and my mother and my grandparents for a very long time. The reasons why I chose to be child-free are many, but how I came to be child-free is simply because when I was younger, one of the major causes or one of the major scenarios that went through my head was like, I have been raising kids for the last 8 years. So this was around class 7, class 6. I have been raising kids for the last 8 years, where every aunt of mine gives birth and brings them home. And I am the firstborn. So, William, can you change the diapers? William, can you... Oh, sorry. Back then it was nappies. So, William, can you do the nappies? William, can you... So at around class 7, class 6, I asked myself, is this really what I want to do for when I become an adult? That when I do get a wife, in quotes, eventually I would start doing this again. And I told myself, no, that's not what I want. So there were 3 tenets I went by. One of them is I want to be a priest. The other was I will not get married. And the third was not get kids. The priest thing I did try. Maybe just to give you a brief, I was in a junior seminary. That is my high school period. I studied in a junior seminary, St. Joseph's Junior Seminary Molo. Anybody who's listening to this would know that school. But that didn't turn out to be what it was, so I never ended up being a priest. But the rest of the two, I looked at it and I didn't have any reasons why those tenets were not discredited. So that's how my child-free journey started. At around class 7, I decided, yeah, I'm not going to have kids. Now, the weird bit about telling your parents at class 7 that you're not going to have kids, they just say, when ni mtoto. You do not know what you're saying. Eventually, you'll become an adult and you realize you want kids. So, class 7, I did it, did my KCPE, went to high school, in the seminary, decided, you know what, fatherhood is not me. Finished it, but at this point in time, I'm repeating that thing constantly to my parents. I am not going to get kids. I'm not going to get kids. I'm not going to get kids. They keep thinking I'm joking. St. Joseph's Junior Seminary Molo was a good school. That school shaped who I am at the moment. I do not regret going to that school. I had options to go to St. Mary's Yala. I had options to go to, because I performed pretty well in my KCPE. So I had options to go to a few national schools. But I remember my mom sat me down and said, this school might be the one you want to go to. And I was a bit hesitant at first. When I joined Form 1, I was one of those kids who used to go, next time, mina hama ishule. But it grew on me. Based on one, I am not currently a churchgoer or somebody who would say is religious or sorts. But the school itself is a very religious school. We used to pray 3 to 4 times a day. You have your morning prayers, you have your lunch, the prayers, then you have your evening prayers, and there's mass every morning. So it's around 4 times. The school itself shaped my life based on one, the diversity of it. I got to meet people from Mombasa. I got to meet people from Mandera. I got to meet people from all sorts of life who had gone through all sorts of things and were just very different. The idea I had when I was growing in primary school got shattered in the first 2 terms I was there. Especially when I was in high school, we were that generation where we started becoming shorts. So the Form 4s were giants who were running the school. But the way, the respect the teachers had to them and they had to the teachers is something I still carry to this day, where authority doesn't need to be that thing that says, do this and do that, and we acknowledge. No, we ask authority, why are we doing this and doing that? That is something I learned in that school, where the Form 4s used to go like, why are we doing it? I am bigger than you. I am taller than you. So if you're going to tell me to do something, you have to explain to me why I am doing it before I do it. St. Joseph Junior Seminary showed me what the Catholic Church is like in both the positive way and a bit of the negative way. A bit of the positive was based on how I saw people who did not believe in God find God then. And I also saw people who believed in God realize they did not believe in God. It was a school that showed me I can choose to be who I am amongst the crowd that says you cannot be that person, because they allowed that bit for me. So yeah, simply put, going to a seminary is tough. You get to pray every day, you get to do very many things that you keep asking yourself why, but those things eventually shape you to become that person who says, I will do things how I want them, whenever I want them, and how and in a matter of way that can make me feel comfortable. That is my experience for St. Joseph's Junior Seminary. So after leaving high school, I got to join university. At this point in time, I'm still telling my parents, kids, me, no. By the time I'm leaving St. Joseph's Junior Seminary, I'm also now adding to the fact, kids, wife, me, no. My mom is a bit like now accepting because we've stayed with her for a very long time. She's now understanding. This kid has been telling me this from class 7. So my dad on the other side is like, nah, you're still young. You don't know what you're saying. Eventually, you will get to the age where you want a family. I'm like, cool, 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 cool. I don't want to argue with you. I am telling you a fact. Will have an entire discussion about this, and you will still tell me I am still young. I don't know what I am saying. So I ended up just stopping telling them. I go to university, do my undergrad. That was an entire turmoil. I first joined Technical University of Kenya, but eventually had to do a credit transfer to Dedan Kimathi. The people from Nyeri would know that side, the quits. Did my undergrad from 2017 to 2021. And now at this point, I've also become sexually aware. I've also started having sexual interactions, but in the back of my head, I'm still like, I cannot have kids. So yeah, when I was getting sexually aware, I do the research, I learn what it means and how it means and what I need to do. So I was very, very into what safe sex is. So my entire period in Nairobi, nothing. My first pregnancy scare comes in Kimathi. This is just after I've left Tuk. I'm barely 6 months into Nyeri. Meet my first lady I like. We have a thing for a while, and then we have a pregnancy scare. And I remember sitting down with myself that day. I take things very internally. I am not that person who will go and tell people, oh, I'm suffering or I'm doing things. I will have an entire monologue with myself constantly on a daily basis. I'll be walking in a street, and the thing I am doing is just talking to myself, telling myself, why? And that is what I did that day. I sat down and asked myself, why? It was there. The condom was there. We could have just used it. Why? We do the test. It's negative. Thank God. The God I don't believe in, but thank God. And then that is when I started seriously thinking, what can I do to prevent any more of these pregnancy scares? When we did the test, when she said she had been late for her periods, I instigated, we need to do a test. Because when I was learning about intercourse and everything, those were the things I also really indulged in. We took the test after 2 weeks because I know the first 2 weeks is normally a press and play. At this point, when she was now telling me she's been late, had been past 72 hours, so the emergency pill can't work or anything. So it's just a matter of let's do the test and then figure out from there. So we waited for 2 weeks. We did the urine test first, which came out negative, but then I was like, we need to still do the blood test, which requires you to wait around 2 weeks after when you start thinking. So we waited at least 2 weeks, I remember. We did the blood test. It was negative. And then that is when I started asking myself, what can I do? What can I do to prevent myself from being in a scenario where I now have to either tell a woman who we probably never had that conversation that I am child free or would like to be child free in future, but I have to tell you now that the thing or the baby or the fetus or whatever, we need to figure out how we're going to deal with this. So I was trying to prevent myself from having that conversation. And the things I researched was one of them, having a vasectomy. So this is me at 22, walking into a hospital and going to a urologist and telling them, no, I'm not sick or anything. I'm just here for consultation. How much would it cost me to get a vasectomy? And I remember that old man looking at me like, what did you say? I was like, I would like a vasectomy. Uko sawa kijana? Now this is a very old woman in what is the hospital? Mata Hospital here in South Bay. I was on long holiday at that point, so I was in Nairobi. I just walked out of the house and went to Mata, and my insurance was in Mata. So I was like, I want a consultation with a urologist. I was set up. I waited, went into the office. And then I remember he had a student doctor on his side, and he was like, "Huyu kijana amesema nini?" I repeated my question. What would it take for me to get a vasectomy? He was like, "You understand what you're asking for?" I was like, "Yeah, I would like for my vas deferens to be cut so that there is no longer any sperm that is passing from this place to the other place." And he looked back at the student doctor, looked at me and said, "You are the problem. You are the reason the Luo country is as small as it is." And I was like, "Okay, I don't get why we are talking about the Luo country and how it is the way it is, but still, can you do it?" And he's like, "Kijana, I am not going to do it. I refuse to do it. First of all, you are young. You do not know what you're asking for. Now you're getting that bit of where you do not know what you're asking for. It's being repeated by strangers now. And I am going to refer you to a psychologist. And this is what I'm going to do." He picks up a pen and says, "Refer to Dr. So-and-so in psychiatry. Social," what was the word he used? Social anxiety disorder or something of the sort. I was like, cool, cool. At that point, I think I was going back to school in 2 days. Didn't go for that appointment because you are not listening to what I want. Fast forward, I think a few months later, a friend of mine unfortunately gets pregnant. But I am that non-judgmental person, so they needed somebody to go with them for the fetus deleters thing. So I went. And when we were consulting with the doc said, "This is our procedure, this is what we do. And also after this, we offer family planning things. And we offer them free because you've taken the procedure." And I told them, "You need to do it." And they were like, yeah, definitely. But then at that point, I also went like, "Do you do anything for the males?" I'm like, yeah, we also do vasectomies and stuff. And I was like, "Can I get it?" And they were like, "How old are you again?" At this point, I think I've just turned 23, 24. I'm like, 24. "Do you have kids?" Fuck no, I don't have kids. That is why I want this thing. "No, Kizana, you're too young. Come back to us when you're 30. But you've just said you can offer family planning to the lady for free. What is wrong with me asking for it?" No. Hii yake ni tofauti. For you, come back to us when you have kids. I'm like, "Daktari, what is the difference?" Doesn't explain, forgets about it, and we move on. That happens. I do that. I move on with life. At this point in time, I am still always at the back of my mind. Every time I'm trying to be intimate with somebody, I just keep remembering, please do not get kids from this scenario. Every time. Like, it's a constant reminder at the back of my head. I constantly used to move with just the idea of kids can happen. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I finish my undergrad. I get posted for internship. I did an undergrad in civil engineering. Luckily enough, I ended up with an internship in National Irrigation Authority. Went to Siaya. Longest dry spell of my life. Kidding not. I think 9 months. Beauty of it is that I didn't have to worry about kids. But at this point also, I'm just thinking, at this point, I've graduated. At least at this point, I can walk into our hospital and ask for a vasectomy and nobody will look at me sideways. Also, at this point, Mary Stops has started the community outreach programs where they're just doing family planning things for free. So there was a thing they were doing in terms of vasectomies for men in Nyanza region around that period. So I called, book an appointment and everything. They tell me, yeah, we'll call you back. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Yo, guys, Are you still calling me back after 4 months? Yeah, the doctor who is supposed to do the procedure has just not yet reached to Nyanza region, but we will call you back. I wish I knew when I was younger that it is the insurance and it is the money that was just preventing people from giving me what I wanted. Because I eventually went like, okay, sawa, I stopped calling. Then around 2023, I think June, I had a short leave period. I was home with my mother in Kericho. I had saved up a bunch of money. At this point, I've also just been back to the Soko, had another pregnancy scare. The other pregnancy scare was not longer pregnancy scare. But at this point, I have been an adult for 4 years. So every new partner I've had, we've sat down and I have had that conversation where I said, we need to discuss a few things. One, I am child free. That means I do not want kids, never want kids, will never ever imagine of having kids. I also understand we are about to get into a relationship, and as much as I am careful enough, sometimes shit happens. I also want you to understand that when shit happens, there's only one option for me. It is fetus, deleters. If you're okay with that, then we can start this. If you're not okay with it, then I don't think I am comfortable with the idea of us starting this in case of something happens. So yeah, the pregnancy scare was not a pregnancy scare. We genuinely had to do something, fetus deleters, and I try to live my life without regrets. I try to always move, making sure that every day and every time I do something, I look back at it and I am not regretful. One of my biggest regrets is having to put a woman through that process, because I would never understand the emotional pain or the physical trauma. Genuinely, as a Kenyan, you would understand how difficult, first of all, it is to procure that service. Secondly, how much judgment women go through when it comes to it. The man is never questioned about it, but the women just go through a lot of judgment. So when it was now my turn to actually do the thing, I genuinely just regret how much I could see it broke her as a person, and how much I was culpable, because I was part of the action. I was part of the scenario and that was that time that in my head I told myself, we need to find a way to make sure this does not happen ever again based on us. That it's not a matter of we are trying to be more zealous or anything. We're just trying to make sure that eventually at some certain point, you understand your culpability to when it comes to that woman going through that process over and over based on you. So for me, it was once. But that once shaped the rest of my life. In science, they normally say that if you could go back in time, there are scenarios or there are points in time you could never change because they're called critical points in time. That if you were to change that, the world would be very different. For me, that critical point in time looks like me receiving that call that day and being told I am late and it's no longer pregnancy scare. It is real. That is my critical point in time where I had to sit down with myself and go like, I know we've had this discussion, but still, I know I still need to convince you to do it, because whether I like it or not, it is your body, it is your choice. Whatever you decide to do with it, all I can do is plead my case and say I don't want kids. I never wanted kids. I would like to not have kids. But if you decide to keep it, I can do nothing about it. That is where I now started moving with the force of what can I do? So generally, what I have come to learn is the process normally looks like you first do your P test. It can either be positive or negative, but false negative exists. So you do your P test. The P test was positive. We waited 2 weeks. We did the blood test. The blood test was positive, and then at this point we were like, okay, this is the reality we are in now. We can't change it. It's the reality. Shout out to Maristops for who they are, because until now I have not seen a hospital that is just genuinely non-judgmental and just offers the service without any repercussions to it. So that is the first step. Young me trying to figure out what branch do I go to, where do I figure how much money it is. I don't have a source of income, but I am trying to get monies for this. So that was the process that I had to go get monies, figure out how much we had to take. Went to marriage stops. Bit and pieces of this is that I was not able to be there that one time. I was working all the way in the other side of the country. She was on the other side of the country. I had just gone to see her, that thing where you conjugal visits. And then came back, and then the call came in, and now I am at work. Everybody's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm cool. Yeah, I'm okay." No, I am not. Internally, I'm like, "Fuck, I am not okay," but I am okay. Uh, they had to go alone. I regret that bit. I should have fucked that work and just travel and gone. I regret that bit, and it happened. But at that point in time, I told myself, not again. It's never happening again. So fast forward, now we are in Siaya. I am begging marriage stops to take me as a client for the vasectomy thing, and they are saying, yeah, we'll call you. Fast forward a few months, I'm on leave. I am in Kericho with my mom. I call them. I'm like, you people offer vasectomy services. How much? At that point, it was going for 10,000 for the thing. 10,000 for the service. It's outpatient. You go in, walk out. You okay? Like, okay. Where? Like our branches specifically in major cities, so Kisumu, Nakuru, Nairobi. But I'm in Kericho. So I think, do I travel to Kisumu? Do I go to Nakuru? Like I also know Nakuru a bit, so I'll go to Nakuru. So I was with my mom in the house. So she's about to leave. She was also traveling. I'm telling her, I'm also about to leave. I'm going to Nakuru. My mom is inquisitive. She's like, why are you going to Nakuru? Mi naenda Nakuru, ban. I don't, the other tenet I live by is that I tend not to lie. I move through life not lying because it's easier. If I was to lie, I would forget about it and then you'll catch me in the lie. So I just try not to lie. So, mom, nenda Nakuru. Why? Nenda Nakuru. I don't want to tell you why. Uko sawa? Yeah, mi niko sawa. Nenda tu Nakuru, nitarudi by jioni. Okay. She goes, sits with herself, and all his mothers know. Comes back. Why are you going to Nakuru? I'm going to see a doctor. It's true. I am going to see a doctor. He's a urologist. He's about to prevent me from giving grandkids. But I don't know how to tell you this because maybe just to pause, because I am now an only son to a mother. She lost a second son. So I don't know how to tell you that the one son who could have given you kids is no longer here. And the one son who is remaining doesn't want to give you kids. Goes back, cooks supper, comes back. William, are you okay? Please, tell me. When mgonjwa? Ni nini? Nothing is wrong, mom. I'm just going to Nakuru to see a doctor. I'll be back. Morning after. The morning now of travel. We are both dressed. We are about to leave the house. She refuses to leave the house. She locks the door and says, you will tell me where you're going to Nakuru. Yeah, I'm going for a vasectomy. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Mm-mm. Yes, I am. Okay. William, usitoke kwa hii nyumba. Ninaenda meeting yangu, ninarudi, then we'll have a discussion about this. But in my head, I'm like, why are we discussing it? Not your kids. It's your grandkids. I get the allure. I get the appeal of it. I get everything you're going through in your head. And I care for you enough to know that it's hurting you, but I don't know why we need to discuss it. It's my choice. I am an adult of 20, I think 7 years old at that point. And it's my choice. I just need you to understand it's my choice. I would love to God to give you that grandkid who probably will look like the brother of mine we lost. But I can't. It can't happen. So they leave. I make sure they've left. I also leave, lock the door, go, board my car, head to Nakuru. Midway to Nakuru, she calls me, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm in a matatu." "William, where are you going?" "To Nakuru." No. You can't do this, my son. I am doing it. I have seen my mom sad severally. I have seen her broken twice. When she lost her son and when she realized that was serious. I remember hanging up that phone call and thinking to myself, do I just alight here where I don't know where I am at this point? It's between Kericho and Nakuru, but I can alight here and go back to Kericho, and she will not be as broken as I've just had her. I'm pretty sure in that meeting she walked out and had to go cry somewhere. She was broken. Shikanguvu kijana, you've made the appointment. We are going. 10 a.m. Miami, Nakuru.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. What a powerful story. I hope you enjoyed part 1. Part 2 is going to be out next Monday, so make sure you subscribe wherever it is you're listening to this on so that you do not miss out on it. I really want to know what stayed with you from just listening to part 1. You can drop it in the comment section. I think for me, it's just this reiteration that choosing to be child-free isn't a rejection of responsibility. Like, I think a lot of people frame it in that sense. I think it's such a deep act of responsibility. Like, it's you doing the responsible thing, which is like checking in with yourself, being self-aware enough to know, okay, what type of life do I want to live? You being responsible enough to say, hey, I'm not going to give into this, that, and the other pressure. I am going to stand by what I want. You're being a responsible human. Oh my days. And that's really what stood out for me with part 1 of William's story. I want to hear what stood out for you. Please drop it in the comments. And next week, we're going to jump into part 2. Remember, if you want to share your story in this show, all you have to do is sign up or fill in our storyteller form. A link to it is in the show notes, and one of our correspondents will get through to you. And if this episode resonated with you, or you thought about somebody who it could resonate with, please make sure you share it with them. Part 2 comes out next week. We'll go even deeper, but until then, thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. And I truly believe that you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.